Our viewers are going to be ready as well.
I told him 9:15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then hold on.
Oh, I already hit the button now.
Hello, friends and brothers from another mother. Glad to see you. Glad that you could join us on Masonic Improvement on today. Masonic Improvement.
Yep. This
Today,
is a.
June 20th or 30th. June 30th,
Yep.
2024.
We have a real wild card in our audience tonight, so it's a special episode.
You know, you're gonna
I saw you come in with that, and I thought you were messing with me. I thought you were playing.
no, but I am the wild card for sure. Somebody has to be to make this show enjoyable.
Oh my gosh.
So
Man.
we have at least one worshipful master in the house tonight. How many others do we have in the house tonight? Or we still have worshipful elects?
Are we counting high priests?
Well, we have a new high priest as well. Congratulations, brothers.
Congrats, man.
It's not high priest in the Rosicrucian or Golden Dawn or anything like that, listeners. So don't worry.
Nothing sketchy.
That's in another group
Yeah.
that we wouldn't discuss.
I gotta say, this has been a pretty fun week Masonically. We had the MWSA meeting, the 14th MWSA meeting, with Robert Park giving a really awesome presentation.
Yes.
Then,
How to remove dissension from your lodge.
Mhm.
That was the presentation, and it is an awesome presentation. It goes very well with my peace and harmony presentation.
Yeah. I would go as far as say he's an expert on that kind of thing. I mean, he really knows
yeah.
what he's talking about. And then yesterday,
Well, what you try being a lawyer for the Grand Lodge of Texas and see if you don't know how to fix a few things.
yeah, you learn a little bit about peace and harmony when you do that. But I went to the Sol Ross Festive Board yesterday in College Station. Dennis was there, and I don't see anyone else that was there that's in the group. But that was also really good. Kyle Walquist. What's interesting about Kyle is he always gives great presentations. But normally, from my experience, I've seen 2 or 3 of his presentations, and they're always very factual. They're very quantitative.
Oh yeah, they're data driven.
They're very data driven, exactly.
Yeah.
This one was
he went esoteric
it
on
was
us.
very esoteric and very well put together, and so he is just as capable of giving a esoteric presentation as he is just diving into the data and sharing that with you. So that was really good.
I wouldn't say he's very.
culture, though.
I wouldn't say he's very esoteric. Well, he is, but that presentation wasn't. He dumbed that one down.
Yeah, he said it was like an hour and a half, and he kind of simplified it, summarized it to half an hour. And
I could tell by what the content was.
That's that Hillcrest culture, though. They're very deep thinkers up there.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a few, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed the full presentation on that.
I enjoyed the conversations afterwards and really discussing things with Brother Pete Norman. I got to tell you, you want to have a long and lengthy discussion, and you better be on your A game. I can tell you, Pete Norman, he knows his stuff when it comes to data-driven topics as far as Freemasonry and where it came about and all that kind of stuff. He is sharp as hell. He's one of the best that we've got in our
Most definitely
in that area for sure, and he does have depth to him as well. I won't say that he doesn't. That was wrong for me.
Yeah.
In fact, Pete will be coming on the show before too long.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Talking about how to create a best in practice lodge, because we all know that St. Albans and Sol Ross are both best in practice lodges.
They have a very nice building too, don't they?
Oh, it's beautiful, magnificent. And the library, well, they're one of the few lodges that actually has a library and museum with their building. And man, all the woodwork, all the wood shelving and everything, Pete and his wife did that themselves.
Wow.
And it is just impeccable. And I've got pictures, and When we go to do the show with him, I'm going to bring those up so that we can show everybody how nice that lodge is. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's how a lodge should. It's how a lodge should be. It's clean. It's approachable, right? Like as a non-Mason, I would feel comfortable because they have like a nice sitting area.
Yeah, everything is the way it's made. You're right. It's the perfect type setting for a lodge because you walk in and there's nothing that's going to overwhelm a visitor. Hey, we were just talking about your lodge.
Yeah.
And how awesome it is. And you're right, Justin, when you walk in, there's nothing that's going to overwhelm a visitor. You know, there's not a lot of heavy art and stuff like that that's going to, you know, cause them not to want to rent it out to other people.
Yeah.
But you walk back through the corridors and man, and talk about the smell.
Mm-hmm.
That's a smell of men right there, and not like a locker room.
Yeah. there's no dead animals in the attic that no one's got out or anything. Like it smells. It's a nice, clean, appealing building, and that's what I really like about it.
Well,
like
it's a masculine smell. You know, when you're walking in, what you're already in the mindset that you're among brothers,
mm-hmm.
right?
Not Old Spice.
Not Old Spice.
It's because they tan leather and brew beer.
So I can go get my deodorant and show you. I want to be a cool guy like that. Where's my...
Do it? Like who?
All right, brother Weber. We'll see you in a few. I'm sorry that things aren't working out on the phone, but we'll see you in a few minutes. Justin will let you right back in.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Roger.
Yeah, I typically don't warn anybody. I just fall out and come back.
Yeah, he just tips out.
That's another thing that bugged the shit out of me on that last recording. Though y'all kept talking, which was good, but I kept...
Oh, yeah, you're on the road yeah.
I was going through the mountains, yeah.
What time did you end up getting home yesterday? Or was it this morning?
Or today.
Yeah, 3:30.
3:30. Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, it was nice.
Then what time did you wake up?
I didn't leave till about 1 o'clock or so.
Oh yeah.
Adam was still there when I left. He was still there with Kyle. It's like, hi, dude, I gotta get going in.
I got a text at 3 o'clock from my wife. Are you coming home or are you staying? It's like, well, I should have stayed. You know, it was certainly it certainly would have been worthy, but man, that was a great time. I'm telling you, that's the kind of experience that brothers need to experience in Freemasonry,
mm-hmm.
because you're touching on some of the most important things. And we were talking about the 5. Remember what the 5 things for a well-rounded lodge were that we talked about before?
The 5
couldn't
things?
find the 5th one. Yeah, I couldn't find the 5th one.
Well,
it was historical reasons, philanthropy, ritual, fellowship.
Philosophical was one of them.
Philosophical, esoteric.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Damn it. And I only had 1 scotch.
Go over that again. Wait, what did you just say? Like, repeat what that was. The 5
in the right order.
The 5 pillars of what?
The reasons why, the different reasons people join Freemasonry. It doesn't mean they stay for that. It doesn't mean that's all they ever do. But the typical reasons why brothers join. So historical, they love the history. Philanthropy,
mm-hmm.
because they like to do pancake breakfasts and fish fries. No, just kidding. They like to give to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Ritual. I said history, philanthropy, ritual, fellowship, and then esoteric. That's the 5. And I don't know what I left out last night. I was talking to Pete, but I felt like an ass because I said, no, it's not these reasons. There's more. There's one more. And so I started listing them out, and then I just had a brain fart. Oh, man, you just don't do that with Pete Norman.
Yeah, that's the worst
Because
person
then
to
your
brain fart
whole
with.
your whole discussion is just out the window. You lose one little part, and the whole discussion is out the window because Pete's right. He's paying attention. You know that he's.
You should do it more often. It's entertaining to do that more often.
Well, you have two kinds of researchers, right? You have the kind that are very by the book, where there's a paper trail lead, and it is what it is.
Archivist
Yes.
researchers.
But then you have others that will also they'll about do that to an extent, but they're also, let's get creative with that and kind of link how that could work, and they kind of explore, and they don't usually get along too well, because the ones that like to explore kind of rub the archivist wrong, because like there's no paper trail. Where's the paper trail? Show me the data. Show me the documentation.
Right.
But if you can find a way to balance that makes some really good research and some really good
it's like
presentations.
square pegs and round holes.
Yeah.
You know, some people are rounded, some people are square, and you know
Some people are really square.
But you know, it's we need everybody, right? I mean, really, because we wouldn't have as good of an idea of where we are if we didn't have brothers like that. And tell you what, I went away smarter last night than I got there, and that's exactly what should happen in every instance of Freemason.
Well,
Every instance.
You have the same kind of mindsets in like science, and this is what makes progress happen, because you have some guys that will study like based off how many electrons this has, this should have a reaction, and they do it and they document it. Then you have other people that are just like, we don't know what happens if we combine these. Let's just go ahead and have an experiment. Those are the mad scientists out there, right? But it takes both kinds. It takes both kinds of progress science. It takes both kinds of
Let's
progress.
see what happens.
Yeah. Like the old Bugs Bunny cartoons where you like little dropper.
Yes. One of my favorite kind of episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. But yeah, we need both. And if I can't be challenged in my conversations, I get bored very easily. And I'm not a square peg. I'm a, you know, I can walk circles around any conversation. But if I'm not challenged in it, then it's like ADD with conversations.
What did Trenton say here? Let's look.
I can't see. Don't make me put my glasses on. You make me look old, Trenton.
You need the optimist and the pessimist. The optimistic builds the airplane. The pessimist, the parachute. I like that.
Ooh. Well, and you need the pie in the sky thinkers too, because they're the ones who even thought there could be an airplane. They're the guys who looked at that and said, "Hey, we can do that if we try." And then you get the other guys together. I'm the pie in the sky guy.
Well, for a long time, there were people that thought that air travel was impossible. It just couldn't work. But you had people throwing themselves off cliffs with different airplanes, right?
That would have been me.
And they proved they're wrong. Like, yeah, you can't fly. Look.
Dude,
And then they had that. Then they came across
thanks. We won't try that again.
Learning how to fly was the first problem, and then once they got in the air, they realized, oh crap! Now I got to figure out how to land this thing. That's problem number 2. But Scott, thank you guys for putting together that festive board. That was very enjoyable.
Yeah, it was
hopefully
awesome.
next year it'll be even more attended and bigger. I was really happy that we had a good amount of people from all over that game. I like that.
Yeah, I think that was about the right
that's a good number.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like the right
number,
size
so you can
want.
have discussion. Yeah, you get too big, and then it loses its luster, because then it's just a party, and you have side conversations and stuff like that. But y'all really had everything under control, at least when I got.
And you already had a wide variety of reactions to Kyle's presentation just with that small group. So
I loved it.
He had a slide. I don't think you were there yet, Dennis, but he had a slide like showing like what the different reactions would be. And It was
Well, I
spot
saw the
on.
one at the end. At the end,
Was it at the end?
where yeah, that was at the end.
Oh, okay. I thought you
I
did one at
saw
the beginning.
most of the presentation.
Oh yeah, the room, everyone in the room right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. That's
Yeah,
what it
that
was.
was at the end. Yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that's what
But
I was saying to somebody else. Is like, this is maybe it was you, Scott, but I was like, this is the right size. I mean, this room's the right size. I mean, you want to put like 5, 10 more people maybe if they want to come, but like there's something nice about having a intimate group like that, a nice setting like that, and it was really enjoyable.
yeah, yeah. When you can talk without having a microphone, that's a good thing
Yeah.
because then you're not dealing with audio issues and stuff like that. And it's more intimate.
It it's something that we do for like the outgoing master end to celebrate the end of the year, the end of the Masonic year, that is. Um, man, I just wish it was. I wish we could do it at like a different time of year where it's a little bit more pleasing outside
Dude, I
instead of
loved it.
doing it instead around instead of just you know hotter than hell. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's all good.
I had no
There's
complaints.
always time to have like at the end of the year we could always get together somewhere.
And I thought that was a great location too. That
Mhm.
was
Yeah, I think we'll be sticking with it.
yeah.
Yeah, and next year I will definitely be there no matter what. I don't care what Scottish Rite is doing, and I will be staying at George's and having a great evening. So
Is
next
George's
year it's on.
what is George's? Is that a
It's a
person?
hotel, and yeah, it's a hotel that it's a nice hotel with a bar downstairs and nice atmosphere.
Hmm.
Don't
Gotcha.
sit across
Yes.
from Pete though, because on the chairs they're kind of like seesaws. And when
Yeah.
Pete sat down, I almost popped out of my chair.
Yeah, and those I had to get up and walk around every now and then because they were kind of making my butt fall asleep because they looked like just cut out round I don't know, like round 2 fours glued together, but stained in a nice way. But yeah,
Right.
the
Well, it's like those cheap
downstairs
wooden.
was nice.
It's like those cheap wooden stool tops that you get at, like Home
Yeah, there
Depot
you
or
go, there you
whatever.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
12-inch rounds that just
Hmm.
really fit just big enough to hurt your butt bone and all your fat rolls over. So it's not an old people chair, that's for sure.
Yeah, we had our at the same location a couple year before last. We had our past masters dinner there, and that was I want to say I think it was early April or so. Yeah, early April. And it was still kind of nice and cool outside, and they have fire pits out there, right outside. They have a courtyard area and all that, so it's a really nice place. Good time of year
Well,
right now. All the kids are gone from school, so the town's basically
exactly.
a ghost town.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that you weren't yelling over each other. You were
Yeah,
able to talk, and really, we were the loudest people there, and that's just because we had debate going on. But that it wasn't loud at that place. I
Mhm.
loved it. That's my kind of place.
Yeah, I agree. Well, look who shows up.
hello.
Yeah, Kadeem was there as well.
Yes, he
Yeah,
was. Man, I haven't seen Kadeem in
Oh
like
yeah.
6 months, so it was nice. It was cool
Well,
having him.
hello.
I
Hello,
hadn't
can you
seen him
How's
go?
it
in
going,
probably
guys?
more than that.
Oh yeah, it was great seeing you, brother Yates and brother Justin.
It was good times. Good times.
Yes, and I was exhausted at that time. I had hit Gray Lodge first thing in the morning for the installation, and I'm going to tell you,
Hey, do you have that
brothers.
thing? Do you have that thing they gave you?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's in my truck. It's in my truck.
Can you run and go get it? I
I'll
think
go
it's worth
get.
getting it. It's pretty awesome.
I
I've never
need to
seen.
go ahead and take a better picture of it and put it behind me. Is what I need to
That's a
do.
good idea. Yeah. Yeah, run and go get that real
Yeah,
quick.
go get it. Y'all can talk all the crap about me you want to.
Man, Kadeem, did you enjoy yesterday? No. He's speechless. He has nothing. He's still processing it, I guess.
He's speechless.
Yeah. I took a friend with me. I took him to a festive board in January, and he's like, "No, this is like exactly what I was looking for." And so he's kind of been in a Masonic rut, so I took him with me to this festive board, and he was like, it's a 2-hour drive back to our area, and man, he was like going like 100 miles an hour, just like thinking and talking about everything. He's like, this is, first of all, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed this, but man, you need to like slow down. Like talking about something nonstop for 2 hours. That's a little. He's like his synapses are just like clacking, like just going like crazy. But that means it was a good conversation. It was a good time.
Yeah, I did the same with Brother Charlton when he took me down to San Marcos for the first time. And I saw that lodge, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" I was just the whole way home, just just the whole way. I kind of felt sorry for him because I wouldn't shut up about it. But yeah, it's about a 2.5-hour drive for us to get down there. But,
Dennis must have got lost, man. Sorry, I'm trying to find something real quick.
there he is.
Where'd he go?
Oh, he's coming in and out of the stained glass. Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, there he goes. Yeah. And he disappeared again. Oh well. Yeah. So anyone else got anything while we're waiting? Do anyone have anything exciting going on this coming week? First week of July.
I really enjoyed Brother Robert Park's speech on Wednesday night when he was talking about this stuff. He was, discussing things like for new worshipful masters whenever they, want to add things to their lodge that, like if you're at a lodge that's strictly a fundraising lodge and you want to add education, he talked a little bit about, the resistance that you might get with that, and he talked about having pride and ego and how whenever you're challenged and you have pride and ego that can cause like hurt, anger feelings and stuff. I walked away from that with a lot of like really good information for myself.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah. Park is
Talking about his talk, yes.
Yeah, like he's, but like I don't know if you're here, but like he's sharp, man, and his presentations are always awesome. Dennis, you found it?
Yeah.
You might have to turn off your background if you want to show it off.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Hold on. Yeah, I got. Oh my gosh! All you're seeing is the screen.
blur.
I was trying to take it off. Can you see it? Oh my
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you can see that.
Hold on.
That was from Grey Lodge.
Gray Lodge, yeah.
Dude, they know how to do it, man. I'm just saying, that's nice. Sonic improvement.
Yeah.
What is that in the center? Oh, square and compass. What's
The
Is
very center is the emblem that they use on their past masters aprons.
uh-huh.
It's a star with a square and compass in it. With theirs are different colors representing their lodge. This thing's getting heavy, dude. This is granite.
Whoa.
Either that or quartz.
You're not gonna take that for granted, are you?
I was setting you up. Oh my gosh. Never again.
Wow, wow,
We're gonna
wow.
take me to the Scottish Rite here. Yeah, man, I was totally surprised that they did that for me. That was awesome.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do something like I got like a little, I don't have it with me, but I got like a wood thing for when I talked at Masonic Con. But
I
like
showed you.
like a lodge
It was
giving that
funny.
out.
I really did enjoy being able to say, "Hey, Justin, check out this beautiful coin they gave," because they stuck the coin right on. So
Yeah, I was like, why are you
now
talking about the coin? What about that cool thing?
I know I can pull this off, but I'm waiting because I want to take better pictures and I want to really, I want to send that to a few more people and say, hey, look at this beautiful coin. But another cool thing was that, one of the brothers makes those. One of the brothers is a stone worker, or he actually builds all the hotels around the nation. Basically, his company is the main contractor for building all the chain hotels.
Wow.
And and so he was able to make those for everybody. And then they made some gavels. Another brother makes gavels, and I can't remember what the kind of wood is. He asked the worshipful master what kind of wood he wanted his gavels out of, because he wanted to create 3 gavels for the master, and it's one for each station, and they're really big and beautiful. And he said that the worshipful master didn't hesitate. He said Onawa, I think, or Onwa it's a type of wood that's it's the tree of the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
And he said it was extremely difficult to get that wood in, but man, it was gorgeous. I mean, it was a lot like a cherry wood, except a little bit lighter, and it was just gorgeous wood. It was. I really liked it. I want to try and get some gavels made for myself like that.
Is it a national wood of the Philippines?
Yes.
I'm gonna
But
look that up.
we always think that we have a lot of people at our lodges, and we always think that our lodges are packed whenever we
Nara?
Is
it Nara?
Nara, that's it. Man, I'm not from the Philippines.
That's all
I
good.
tried to remember. That was pretty close.
Well, you gotta be curious.
I remembered it was from the Philippines.
Oh, it does look very pure. It's a very beautiful wood. That is,
Yes. Worshipful Vigil Rojas, man, he's awesome, and everybody loves him, and if you had been there, we all think that we have big installations, right? I mean, I had all of our chairs in Goliad were built when I had my installation. It was a big installation, but they had like 3 deep or 4 rows deep of chairs, all the way from one end of the lodge to the other, and their lodge is I guess it's probably almost a 25 by 50 lodge. It's a big lodge, and they have like 4 rows of chairs on each side, and then they had a few extra metal chairs that they had to put down so people could sit, and that was just so important people could sit, because there were like 20 or 30 other brothers outside, including some EAs that were doing all the kitchen work and stuff. Their stewards or not their stewards, but their steward committee is all the EAs and fellowcrafts. And so during this thing, it was just known that that's their job, is to serve the lodge. It's not even a question. Yeah, that's their job, is to serve the lodge. Kind of like the KSA does with the Scottish Rite, except, we're supposed to be in a higher stature or whatever, but, coming in the door at that lodge, that's the expectation. And, when you looked at all the lodge members that stood up, there was as much as any of us have on a regular stated meeting, for sure. Well, more than most. They probably had 25, 30 people there, kind of average for Goliad or like St. Albans or whatever. But the support group and the support that he had a whole class. His whole class of friends came from the Philippines. That's why he asked me to do the subject of what is Freemasonry, because he wanted me to do it the way that I do it, and not the way that the canned stuff that's in the monitors and stuff like that. So, man, I put it out there. We were formed under oppression in the Dark Ages, and certain religious groups and kings and queens did not like us, so we were underground, and that's basically how it started. Mm-hmm. So I dug into that a little bit, but just there is no way he's not going to be successful because of his support group around him. Some of us have a hard time just getting our wives to show up.
Yeah.
But man, this guy had his whole family there. And I'm talking brother-in-law, sister-in-law, stuff like that, on top of, friends coming in from the Philippines. He had dignitaries from Manila come, and dignitaries from the Philippines, he had 3 different dignitaries coming in. I mean, it was impressive, the people that care about him. It's crazy.
Where is Gray at? Like, where's that located?
It's in Houston, in the kind of the northwest area, I would say, based on the driving.
So you went from...
It's right off 6. It's right off SH6.
So you went from
I
I
Houston...
think I did my Scottish Rite degrees there years ago.
It's big enough. Yeah, it's a big lodge. It's beautiful.
So you did Houston. Did you go to San Antonio, or did you just go straight to...
I went to San Antonio. I was going to the event, and then decided, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to Sol Ross.
Got you.
So I went and I stopped and got some scotch, and thought, you know what? I'm going to Sol Ross. So off I went.
Good choice.
Yeah, yeah, it was good.
I was actually at the Scottish Rite building, waiting for somebody to come and open the doors, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going where I really wanted to go to begin with, because I knew it was going to be packed, and I knew that, everybody respects our Churro de Hoyos, and that's great, but that's probably not the presentation I'd want to hear. The keynote speaker I'd want to hear. I think the one that Kyle gave was a lot more fun and intimate.
What did Arturo talk about? Do you even know? Like, what his presentation was going to be?
Jason knows. He was there. Jason? Reichenberg?
Rayson Reichenberg?
Get you to shut up.
Yeah, I was there.
What did he talk about?
Yeah, I was at the dinner.
What did he...
Sucker.
Okay.
The food was good.
You got a lot of making up to do with Demilza, don't you?
Check your Facebook messages there, Dennis.
I will, and I will not repeat them online. So that Sol Ross was awesome. Anytime you can have a good festive board, you should do a good festive board. And I'm going to tell you that it's happening more and more in Texas today, and I can't say that there's much more of a beautiful thing than that happened.
I agree.
It's one of my very favorite things about Masonry is the festive board, and it's not for getting drunk and all that, but it's for honoring certain traditions and enjoying the fellowship of your brothers while learning something at the same time, in a more relaxed environment.
Yep.
I would say relaxed, more of a well, how do you put it?
It's formal. It's a formal event.
It's a formal event. It's more of a gentlemanly
there you go.
event.
Yeah.
It's relaxed, but it's more gentleman. And I really like it. I like it. Yeah. Every once in a while, we need to be the gentleman we were always meant to be, right? If we could just take it home and do it to be gentlemen to our wives, right?
Yeah. Going into that country club, it kind of reminded me of the conversation that we had last week about having like the gyms and everything in the lodge. It's like, this is, and because I was like, I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was like, this is really, from the outside looking in, when I was going to join, this is more kind of like what I expected a lodge to be like. Maybe not with like a giant pool and a golf course or anything like that, but like a really nice place with gentlemen walking around, and actually with things to do besides just sit in a room sometimes. So it was good. It was a good time. Hats off to y'all.
Sorry, I'm working on some lodge stuff while we talk. Y'all go ahead.
It's all good.
I can't be at the entire talent of this program.
Jason, you're being unusually quiet. Do you have anything on your mind?
No, obviously I got installed yesterday as Worshipful Master of
Congratulations.
Victory Lodge. Thank you.
Congratulations. I was alluding to that earlier, and you just wouldn't speak up. I said, do we have any new masters in here? And you just sat there looking at the sky.
He is extremely humble.
It was more of
Leave him
a,
alone.
I mean, you said it like it was a factual statement. It was like, well, yeah, that is true. You weren't asking for feedback. So.
You got to know when the opportunity arises. That's why I'm on the podcast and you're leading all the other things behind the scenes.
Right. Okay. Anyway, and actually, I love you too, Dennis. So it was a very good, to me, it was a very good installation. Fortunately, everything came together, no real hiccups or anything like that. And I think people enjoyed their time. And honestly, I am actually really looking forward to this year. And I think we've got some stuff in place that I think guys outside of Victory Lodge are going to want to be a part of. So, yeah, it really went well, and so.
It's awesome, man.
And I had a bagpiper, so.
Oh, you can't go wrong with a bagpiper.
Yeah, I don't know if you had a bagpiper, but I had a bagpiper.
No, but we had a Kyle Walters and a Pete Norman.
Arguing with each other. I mean, it's like the perfect storm.
That was priceless. Now, and there at one point during the festive board, after Kyle's talk, and of course, Pete zeroed in on one thing, and there were certain people in the room that knew he would. And there was one point when Pete said, "I've got something," and everybody's heart just dropped. And we're thinking, how long is Kyle and Pete going to go after it? Because neither one of them is going to back down. Neither one. I mean, it's just.
That's
but they didn't. It was cool. It was talked through real quick, and then the conversation followed it at the bar, and that was nice.
It had potential to go for a long time, though.
Yeah, that's why I sat next to him at the bar, because I wanted to hear it. It was It was a good conversation. I learned something.
What was the outcome? Was there an outcome?
It was a great conversation. I learned stuff.
Speaking of Kyle, so
Scott walked away after a little while and left me there, and I was a little disappointed, but
I think it was a draw.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's the only way it could ever end. I don't know why I asked. Brad, what were you going to say?
I was saying that I watched you guys' Goats of Freemasonry video that y'all put out over the weekend. Mm-hmm. I had watched part of that Kyle Walquist video before y'all put that out. It's actually really good.
I'm glad you liked it, man.
Yeah. How he talked about, I guess y'all were about to do some kind of event, and he was going to do a presentation or something about he's a marketing guy, so he's kind of doing the business aspect of masonry, or something during your event. Anyway, it really y'all were talking about how if you get a good worshipful master in there and he sets things in motion, and you generally have like a 3 to 5 year uptick in activity at your lodge or whatever, 3 or 5 good years, and then it kind of tapers back off. Mm-hmm. But I would like to see ours keep going up.
Well, really, what it is it's a 3 to 5 year, and it's really a 5 year time. It takes about that long to shift a culture.
Yep.
Right.
So, so once the culture shifted, though, that doesn't mean it has to end. That just means that's when the culture is shifted, and you can continue going, especially if you have a mindset that you are an organic organization and you're going to shift as you go along. But the problem we have is when everybody has set in stone feelings about things that are not tenets or landmarks of our fraternity. That's where we have the problems. Otherwise, if we all believe that we're good to go on, what aprons we're going to wear this year or next year for the next 5 years, what, you know, what kind of hat we want the master to wear, or if it's his choice, or, all those kind of things you got to be flexible with, no matter what your lodge, you know, traditions are.
Yeah.
Because if you're not organic, then it's not going to at some point, especially if you don't have a mentorship, at some point it's going to become a split of the old and the new,
Yeah.
because the old will be stuck in the traditions and the new are going to be, what the hell did I just join? I don't like this, I'm just going to go somewhere else and spend my time.
Right.
That's kind of what happens.
Yeah.
But you got this, man. You got guys that want to do it, and they're supporting you, and y'all have an awesome opportunity for success.
Yeah, I think your lodges. First of all, I'll say that I haven't seen your leadership, but I've seen how much preparation you've been doing and how seriously you're taking everything and everything that you have lined up. I mean, you've done a tremendous amount of preparation. You're going to have a successful year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes for you throughout this year.
And Jason had a lot of preparation too, I guess, with his year, because I've seen his event schedule. Looks pretty cool. I wish where do you live at, Jason?
I actually live in Seguin. Victory Lodge is in San Antonio at the Al-Safar Shrine. But yeah, I mean, in addition to the guest speaker series, I mean, we've got we're going to be doing some additional things as well and stuff like that. And fortunately, I mean, we've got an officer line that are excited about trying to do some different things and stuff like that than we've done in the past. And so we're looking forward to it. The other thing I did get to do at my installation was I gave so my wife just came out of the East for Eastern Star, and she really did a lot for that chapter. Raised a record amount of money, had a lot of different things that they did and stuff like that. And at the end of her year, she got a little past matron pin. And I was like, and so I asked her, and I said, what did you get? And she's like, oh, just a little pin. So I presented her an actual Eastern Star past matron jewel that she can wear. She really liked that. And then for my son, um, I actually presented him a Lewis jewel for being raised a master mason as a son of a master mason and stuff like that. So some little different things I got to do at my installation that you normally wouldn't get to do. So, but I did go into I mean, I had about a 30-second little speech at the end, and the big thing that I talked about was why we are focusing on education this year, and it is basically to affect change in society. Like, it's not just meant for each other and just for the individual Mason. It's meant to spread that message and affect change in society and stuff like that. So anyway, it seemed to go over well, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really kind of why I have been prepping so hard to try to I don't want to spend my year trying to plan things. I want to spend my year doing the fun stuff that I planned, and trying to help my brothers in my lodge have a good time.
Yeah.
I want them to be happy.
A very important leadership lesson that I learned when I used to do financial planning is there's two ways to run a business, right? You could be reactive, which means you're at the mercy of whoever comes into your office and wants to meet with you whenever they want to, right? Someone calls, they get a hold of you anytime, right? It's really hard to plan. It's really hard to know how your day is going to go. Or you can be proactive. Your appointment only. You don't just call. You talk to my assistant, and then I'll call you back when I'm able. That kind of thing. My point is, this is the same concept for like any kind of leadership organization. You can be proactive and set things out, get things planned out in advance, and write down your agenda so you know how your meetings are going to go. Get speakers going so you know who's going to be talking, what they're going to be talking about. Have your meals lined up so you know what the meals are going to be. Or you could be reactive, where just whoever wants to stand up, talk about whatever they want to talk about. That happens. You don't really know where the meeting's going to go. How long is the meeting going to last?
And sure you do. It's going to go.
Yeah, it's going to spiral downward. You missed it. We were just talking about how fantastic that festive board was we went to yesterday.
Yes. So
all thanks to Scott.
Yeah, he said it was all him. So yeah, we already knew. He's like, yeah. No.
I did it all.
Man.
It was complicated, but I did it all. Been doing it all my life.
Well, it was an awesome event, and more lodges should work that into their regular meetings in some way, somehow during the year. It doesn't have to, and it doesn't have to be a big event with the whole state invited or anything, open invitation. But consider, what if everybody? I mean, this is a big what if. What if everybody, said at the beginning of the year, we've got this one dinner we're going to have at the end of the year, in November. You have from now to June to get that paid off. It's going to cost you $75 a head. So 3 payments of $25, 5 payments of whatever that calculates to, or just whatever. $5 a day if you have to do it that way. $1 a day if you have to do it that way. I don't care. Set up a
$365 meal better be pretty awesome.
No, it's paid by June.
June. Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's only a $75 meal. So whenever it's paid. So, anyways, let's say, and call me silly, but let's say every lodge did something like that and said, "Hey, this is our end of year blowout. Don't do it in December because it's a big year. Do it before Thanksgiving, because that season is just too busy for everybody. So do it before Thanksgiving, October to November, before Thanksgiving, and everybody, throughout the district, every week you have a different one that everybody can come to and show up to if they want to, or just do their own, and you get 30 or 40 guys in your lodge that are having this intimate, program with a speaker that you brought in that you didn't have to beg to come in because you're paying for their hotel and their gas, and that's part of that $75. Mm-hmm. And then you have a good $50 to $65 meal or whatever. And, that could be because, look, if you have 30 people, $10 a piece, that's $300 to offer up to whoever's speaking or whatever, or get a nice plaque like somebody got this weekend. I don't know why it's unthinkable to do something like that. I really don't. $10 extra a month on top of your dues is not that much to have a really nice event that really expresses what it is to be the gentleman of the day.
Well, historically, feasts and festive boards, they were not uncommon. It was a big thing that we did, especially the feast. But we had depending on the lodge, it'd be either a feast or a festive board, but we had at least 2 a year for the solstice. So I mean, it's. I don't know when that went away and when we stopped doing that, but I agree it would be really good and it's very beneficial. I mean, I don't mind going 2 hours to College Station because I know it's going to be awesome, but it would also be nice to have something smaller and more local that would be beneficial.
Oh, I just read. Oh my goodness.
Sorry, Dennis is kind of a wild card, guys.
Boy, I screwed that pooch. That's for sure. Sorry, man.
What'd you do?
I'm not gonna say nothing.
Okay.
He who sent knows what he sent, and knows where I screwed up.
Adam.
I didn't send anything. Not to
You're
Dennis.
right.
Well, you
Not
get
to
goes to
Dennis.
Dennis.
Wasn't me either. It was
it's
this
funny.
guy.
Don't make me lie. Don't make me lie. Okay, so let's move on. So yeah, festive boards are cool,
Mhm.
and maybe someday, call me silly, but maybe someday if we do that enough, people might actually see a value in having a table lodge. Call me silly,
That would be
and that could
something.
be a quarterly thing, just like a special lodge that you do quarterly or whatever. But those are the kind of things that I would rather invest my time and money in.
Well, I mean, those definitely have historical precedence also. I mean, why did we do away with
I think they're more historical than a fish fry. I'd rather spend $75 on a festive board than $75 supporting a fish fry.
that? I agree.
I'm sorry, but I just feel that way. I didn't. Well, let me watch how I say this.
No, say it.
I didn't get into this to beg my neighbors for money to support my hobby.
Well, neighbor,
didn't.
you just did join for the wrong reason then.
And I'm not gonna collect money and then say that I'm giving a scholarship to somebody.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it. That's just not in my nature to lie.
So you think taking someone else's money and turning around and saying, "Look at all the money I donated," is a little bit dishonest? Is that what you're trying to say?
That is just south of money laundering, in my opinion.
So there's a good question in our chat.
Oh
It says,
gosh, there's a lot of people in this chat right now. I
I
hadn't
know,
even looked
right?
at it.
What is the difference between a festive board, festive table, and a harmony? Then I kind of lost track because we had some extra comments. Let's see. Oh, someone answered it. Dang, I guess I need to scroll down too. Yeah, Adam's
Yeah,
like,
you
festive
need
board
to
is
do your
English,
job.
harmony is Scottish. Festive table, so they used to just sit at the tables during the lodge.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Adam. I thought I was scrolling all the way
Because
down.
I can't
and
depend
wasn't.
on my right hand guy.
Man, you can fire me if you want to.
Be my left hand guy. I'm demoting you to the left hand.
Man.
Hey, something that's interesting to note on that differences between festive boards and table lodge and stuff. Something we should all keep in mind. I think festive boards are going to be the things that's going to just keep growing and growing. I think it's going to get a lot more common. A lot more people are going to start doing it. But it is important, I think, and this is just nitpicky, is something. I think it's important to not call it a table lodge.
Correct. Because
Call
it's
it
not.
festive board. Because if you're calling it a table lodge, it's assumed that you're going to open lodge,
Mhm.
and then you invite problems from
Take care,
Grand
Brett.
Lodge wanting to regulate it,
Yep.
and then so on and so forth. You get where I'm going with it.
Yeah, even though a
Yes.
festive board is by no means a lodge and it's never open
Right.
like a lodge, but a table lodge, you're right, historically was an actual degree or meeting where people were sitting at tables while everything took place, and you don't want
Which does happen in other jurisdictions.
sure, and you don't want that confusion to creep in where
Take
You're
care,
right.
Byron.
where suddenly we need laws or something to regulate it. Take care, Austin.
Yeah.
hop
Before
in?
I do go, I was just gonna say Happy Independence Day to everybody.
Happy
Oh, you too.
Independence
Oh,
Day.
that's this week.
It is.
That's
Happy,
this.
yeah. Happy Treason Day, Colonials.
What date does it
You know
fall on
what?
this year?
Somebody's got to do it.
I can't remember, Justin.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll have to look. I'll have to check my
It's gonna
calendar.
fall on Thursday.
Remember the 4th of November?
Yeah, but we're not replacing Parliament with a theocracy.
I get all my holidays mixed up. Yeah.
What's cool is that Goliath
Dennis, I got a
Lodge
question.
meeting on Thursday, just like in my years. In my year, we met. My first meeting was on Thursday, on 4th of July.
Sound like a real
Go
past
ahead.
master just now.
Question.
Also, another
I
question.
was gonna say, how successful you think Texas is to implement festive board after every meeting, and instead of eating before?
Oh, I think that would be ideal
Mhm.
because that would be more in line with tradition than anything else that we talk about is switching around and that's why it's important that lodges that want to implement drinking in their lodge so that they can have those kind of events. I would definitely do that in allow drinking and then start talking about changing up your meeting time. The only problem with that is that we get people that they come in at the last minute during dinner and don't even eat dinner because they get there right before lodge, like I do,
Like
which
you.
is going to have to, which
Yeah.
is yes, exactly,
Exactly
Not
like
just
you'd
like
be a perfect
me.
example of that.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad somebody appreciates that. What's up, Scott?
No, I was just gonna ask Adams, like, hey, like, how would you like to plan that after every meeting?
So the ongoing joke in our lodge is that, I mean, it's not a joke, it's serious. I hate event planning. I despise it. It drives me nuts. All the small details stress me out. Last night, I didn't fall asleep till about almost 4 in the morning. I was just laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and it was like,
Man,
this is
wondering if
finally
you
over.
did okay. You did okay, man.
Yeah, we got through it.
I
This is the
I
best
got
one we
home
had
at
so far.
3:30.
I think it was the best festive board y'all have held all year.
Yeah, it was. It was the
Agreed.
best one we had all year. It was.
So I want to.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have to be as tedious as what you did though if it was every month, because it falls into that kind of
Yeah, well,
normalcy.
part of the problem is that, so this is the third one that we've held in the 21st century, right? And so each year it's been in a different place because we haven't gotten comfortable somewhere. But where we had it this year, everything was perfect. The lady that helped us plan it at the country club was fantastic. The audio visual stuff for the presenter worked just fine. The bartender and the guy that was serving us left us alone when we wanted to have the presentation, which was good. Everything went, the AC worked, so everything went perfectly.
Yes.
So I think we can have it there next year, and if we can have it at the same place, that takes away like 75% of the stress.
Yes, it
Because
does.
a majority of it is just like going to a new place and saying, hey, we're different than a wedding party or a wine drinking club or whatever. And we have these certain needs that we want to have met, and it takes so much planning and conversations. And like I said, I hate it, but we did it. Scott and I did it. But yeah, it's yeah, I can't imagine having one every month or every other month or even 2 or 3 a year. That would be cool. But it's baby steps, you know.
I've been to dinners where that is a problem, and you have a really great presenter giving his best, but you got people coming in behind, moving stuff around, and it's very distracting. And so
That happened with me this last year during one of my events at a dinner. They kept coming in while I was talking, and it really kind of pissed me off. And we've had dinners at that same place, and yet because of the change in management or whatever, they aren't with the program, and you got different wait staff because it's a college town or whatever. And
So I did have a question since we brought up. I've always been a big advocate of doing dinner after the meeting, but someone mentioned doing a festive board after the meeting, which I think would be fantastic. But here's my question: would you still do education during the meeting, or would you save it for
No.
the board after?
Save it for the festive board. And
I'd
and
have a short reading.
Have
well,
like a
you
short
do the
reading
law
during the
or
meeting?
something. Do the laws or something like that from the junior warden, but not something big.
Yeah.
That makes
Well,
sense.
actually, was it you that was telling me about? No, it was Seth that was telling me about Washington Lodge. That they were looking back at the minutes from 100 years ago when they started, or whatever, 100 and whatever years ago. And in those minutes, they saw that one brother would always be assigned to give a presentation, or not give a presentation, but give part of the master's lecture, or part of the EA lecture, or part of whatever. And so that's kind of cool to have somebody that's, that's familiar with the lecture or not familiar with the lecture, learn that part of the lecture for that month and present that part of the lecture, just to kind of remind us of what happened when we were made Masons.
I like
That would be
Brother
kind of cool.
Don,
I would rather do that than listen to the law, unless we have something that we need the law for. Then tell the junior warden, hey man, be ready, because I want you to give this law when we do this, so that there's no chatter on the sideline.
Mhm.
But otherwise, man, I'd love to hear parts of lectures.
Brother Don used to do that. Even at recently, before he passed away, he used to get up and give part of the master lecture or part of the EA or fellowcraft lecture. He used to do that in the meeting recently,
That'd be
Nice.
interesting. And
like
the-
down there in Washington and at Navasota and Orphans Friend Lodge down south of us. He used to do that regularly.
So do it, maybe a
Nice.
part of it,
Well-
and just kind of break it down and analyze it and just discuss it. Even maybe the extended form, like the long form, go into that stuff that no one ever hears. Talk about like a few sections of that.
And whenever Jason came, or I think whenever you visited Brad's Union,
I was just going to ask.
Yeah,
I
go
remember
ahead.
they did.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to remember what exactly. I think it was something from the Fellowcraft, right?
yeah, fellowcraft obligation.
Ooh,
That was
my
it.
favorite.
They did the Fellowcraft obligation.
Yeah, we all got around the altar and did the fellowcraft obligation together.
Yeah, it
That's
doesn't have-
something that I plan to bring. I hope nobody from my lodge is listening. I plan to bring to Oso during one of our education nights is a what's it called, a re-obligation or a
rededication.
rededication. Yes, few people have done that. I think it might be cool for all of us to put our hand on the Bible and do that, and or put it on the altar. Everybody stand around the altar, and or maybe not even the rededication of the whole obligation, but just do that last part of the closing that never gets done anymore. Because I
Closing
memorized
charge.
that. Yeah, I memorized that when I was
The master's charge.
master. Yes, I memorized that when I was master.
Yeah.
So that would be a cool tradition. I'm going to talk to the master. That would be a cool tradition to start at the end of our meetings, after we close, of course, and then go into that, and then chain of union. Is that what y'all call it for doing the everybody putting your hand? Oh, okay, yeah. That's around the festive board usually. That would be cool to do.
You could do that around the altar. And you
Right.
can get like you can get the master's
but
charge
you'd have
like
to
that,
do,
or
you would have to do it after the ritual, because our ritual is our ritual,
yeah.
and then get around the altar and do that. That would be an awesome way to close it out.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to him about that.
Visit St. Albans and they do that.
You know what? St. Albans is just too good. Goody two shoes. Let me tell you, these guys. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
he even has pink.
That's
of it.
awesome.
He's like, visit St.
St.
Albans when they
did
do it. Yeah.
Man, I would love to come up. It's going to get a little bit tighter for me with my schedule, but I would love to come up there and visit during lodge.
You'll have to come on time though.
Just tell him it starts an hour
I'll
before
have
it
to-
really does, and he'll be on time.
Yeah, it starts at 5. Show up at 5.
Oh, that's so funny. what's funny is our installation tomorrow is going to start at 5:30, and for that very reason, so that they can have dinner and everything by the time I get there and get ready to go. But I'm doing all my secretary stuff at home, preparing and getting ready, so I won't have to do it when I get there. I'll just be able to roll in, hand out everything, and be done. And everything's already planned with the master and all the wardens, and so yeah, exactly. So everything's planned already, and so all I have to do is just put it on paper and hand it out. Looky here.
Well, well, well.
Damn, the man of the hour. That was a great discussion.
Yeah.
We were talking about that at the beginning of the show. That was awesome. You usually come in with a lot of hard data. That was hard data on our degrees, and that was cool. I like that. It definitely made me think.
I really wanted to hear the full version after that. That was like a taste test, like a little teaser.
Me too. I thought the same thing.
Glad of the experience landed. And I just caught earlier the lies you were telling about me on your greatest of all time podcast that you re-released one of our previous recordings. So I figured I owed it to you guys to jump on here for the kind words that that you guys expressed. Kadeem was saying you guys were mentioning something that came up last night, and the kids somehow went to bed early. So
Nice.
if you got questions, let me know, or if there's anything I can expand upon from, I think something about a business plan or something like that.
Nice. Go
I'm
ahead, Justin.
I'm curious. So I don't know how deep you want to go specifically on the Zoom on this, but for someone that wants to really kind of dive into these Gnostic concepts, what have you found that's the most approachable for starting out?
I mean, there's it's a complicated topic, right? I think it's like how familiar you are and how passionate you are around like comparative religions in the first place. If you're somewhat interested, if you've taken like some college courses on various theologies and religious studies and things like that in the past, like there's a YouTube channel called Esoterica, which is I think very good. There's also one called Religion for Breakfast, and there was a third one that I watched that I can't recall the name of right now, but I'll try to dig it up and maybe put it in the comments down below on this at a later date. But those two are very good. I would say Esoterica is much more like a 3,000 level or 4,000 level college course in the depth of detail he goes into. It's a little bit more dry, if I'm going to be totally honest. But if you're into that stuff, I think it's very interesting. I think Religion for Breakfast is probably a little bit more consumable for most people. So if you're just starting out, I'd probably start with that YouTube channel. But I mean, they've got things online that are just like my parents growing up had like a book of like Greek mythology, right? And I think most people had this in like the 80s and 70s and so forth. They had the old movies like Stop Action, Medusa, Claymation, and all that kind of stuff. That was big at the time. So that being said, like if you kind of grew up with that, reading those type of stories and things like that, there's also like publications of Gnostic texts and summaries of Gnostic texts from the libraries and archives that have been unearthed over the 20th century. So if you just Google things like that, you'll go down a rabbit hole and you'll find different things, and that may lead you to different topics, and you'll find different archives with different pieces. But long-winded answer to say there's a lot of different stuff online. I'd probably start with YouTube channels though.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for talking about other YouTube channels on our show. That's great. We appreciate you. We
Wow.
appreciate you.
You guys can't cover all the topics.
No, we can't. And iron sharpens iron, and if we're not willing to look outside the box and look to others that may have more information, more knowledge, then why are we even here, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
But go ahead, Ed.
So, Kyle, what I recognized at about 2:30 this morning is that Rome cannot be built in a day, right?
Yeah. You're talking about business conversation. Yeah.
But I thought a good thing maybe you could expand on is just if there's a lodge that they're at the point where they want to start to try to turn themselves around and start to move in the right direction, and they're starting from almost zero, what's like the very good beginning steps that they could do to start to do that?
Yeah. Great question. I am a strategist, so my mind is going to like the mental battlefield first, right? You win the war in the mind, and then you go execute on that. And so for me, it's a lot of identification. It's very hard to be successful at anything without knowing who you are, and that concept holds similar for a lodge, right? So we touched on this a little bit last night, but there's many different versions of Freemasonry. You have obviously the esoterics, you've got the philanthropists, you've got kind of the social clubs, there's other variations as well. And frankly, if you're going to succeed and grow, you need to probably pick one and start there. Now, that being said, I think it's good for every lodge that's on a growth mentality and growth track to say in the long run, like, all of these things are good, and we need to encourage all of those, but we're not going to necessarily draw ourselves too thin and try to do everything at once, especially in the early stages when resources, meaning manpower and the hours to contribute to the craft, are at a fairly confined and refined amount. You need to be investing those very, very carefully, and that's one of the things that lodges, I'd say. So first and foremost, know who you are, and we'll talk about like a framework of how you can start thinking about what you need to go do to enable those things. But two, it's something you need to stop doing is wasting time. So the antithesis of knowing what you're going to do and what you're going to go get, like, you can't waste time with everything under the sun, and you definitely can't waste time on people who are not going to value your lodge. And that can be members currently that are wasting time talking about things and not doing any action. That can be men who are inquiring, who you get really excited, hey, we've got somebody who wants to join and become a Mason, but like you really haven't vetted them out to see if they're going to be contributing back. And what that looks like in practice is like when you're meeting with an inquirer who is interested about potentially joining, really setting expectations early, and often, like more than once, more than a passing conversation that people can kind of chuckle away, but in actuality saying, hey, these are the expectations of you, and really making sure those things land. Like, we are going to invest, it's like a minimum of 120 man hours to get somebody from knocking on the door of the first degree to a fully functioning full member of the lodge. And I just tell every guy who comes through Hillcrest, like, we expect you to put in at least that amount of time prior to you doing anything else with inside Freemasonry. So if you're joining for Shrine, or if you're joining for Scottish Rite, or if you're joining for York Rite or whatever else, like, this is not the organization for you. And if you want to join ours, like, you can do those things, but not in probably the first couple years of you being a member.
Let's see.
Yeah, so the framework, though, like, identifying like everything that needs to get done, I think in totality to kind of suit the desires of your membership today, the consensus of what type of lodge you guys want to grow into is important. Understanding kind of like what buckets things fall into. You need online marketing to some extent. I'm not saying you necessarily need to pay for commercials or ad space or anything else. We certainly don't. But you need a functioning website. You need people updating it. You need people creating content for it. You need photos, XYZ, stuff like that. You need a lead gen team. Your secretary, 99 times out of 100, is not the guy that should be answering emails and phone calls for people interested in joining. That he's got enough administrative things to do for taxes and paperwork and all of that stuff. We don't need to be adding yet another thing to that plate, because all too often it's going to fall through the cracks. And that's one of the reasons that lodges over the past probably 5 or 7 decades have struggled, is because the shift went from almost like an invite society. We weren't an invite society, right? But we know that, in the 50s, there were guys, and if you were, in a firm somewhere or in a business somewhere, your boss came to you and said, hey, you should probably think about joining and come down with me to the lodge and stuff like that. Like now it's a much more, first contact kind of thing. Like a lot of guys don't know anybody from the lodge. So you really, long story short, you need like a lead management team that can really like nurture and foster early relationships and get that. And you need, generally I would recommend having some sort of like off lodge social. There's a lot of crazy people out there who think we're doing a lot of weird stuff. You should not be inviting people to your lodge for the first time without meeting them first. So generally recommend something offsite. You need a planning committee for that. Somebody who can handle all the emails for that to the lodge members as well as to the inquirers. If something changes, quickly being able to pivot and communicate out. You need degree practice teams. You need degree planning teams. You need degree conferral teams. You need people in charge of budgets. You need people in charge of auditing. There's a lot of administrative things that you also have to have by Grand Lodge law and by just best practices of running a business, which your lodge is a business.
You need a bylaw team.
We've got bylaw teams. We got finance teams. We got endowment teams, committees, rather. So there's a whole suite of things. And then as you're really maturing, you would also have like, special committees for events, and then some probably committee for web administration, who's going to regularly take over the things coming out of the events and capturing them and writing articles about them, and the photos taken at those things and coordinating those photos into online publications and things like that. So a lot of stuff going on there. But knowing all of those things and then kind of picking apart, like, okay, well, what do we need immediately to get somebody, right? And so then it's like, well, probably you need online visibility, or if you've got that and it's fairly up to date, you need a lead gen team. Then from there, you can create the next problem and get some guys in, and then as soon as they get in to being a member, okay, now you can help us out and kind of shore up some things, and the cycle continues, and you just keep filling up the line until you got a fully functioning, 6 or 7 pillars of activity across the lodge with multiple committees under each one. So similar
Now
how a functioning Grand Lodge would work.
let me ask you real quick for those online. I've been building sites for a lot of lodges for quite some time, and it's just exhausting. The amount of information that you have on your sites. Explain how much information you have on your lodge, on your site, and what's the most prominent thing that happens when somebody first hits your splash page. What is the intention of your website? Because it's very obvious when you go on.
Yeah, so our website is not for our members. Like, we've got obviously closed communication channels for things like that, email, and as well as private social network and so forth. The website is for people looking to learn more about Freemasonry, more about Hillcrest Lodge, and to begin the inquiry process to membership. That's it. It serves no other purpose except with like also kind of having this hybrid ability in the fact that it's a sort of digital archive for some of our activities, simply because, obviously those things are what people are interested in finding out, like what do we do, why are we here, those kind of things. And so when it's relevant, we'll post up things that we've done socially and whatnot.
But generally, when somebody goes to your site, they're not there's I think only 3 options on your site to go to on what is Freemasonry, what is who Hillcrest Lodge is, and then there's 3 pages, and then in every page you get this pop-in that says, "Are you interested in joining Freemasonry?" Immediate action items, right? And that's what we're looking for is if somebody's interested, we just want them to take action and say something, and then we can have that conversation as we go. But I don't know of many people these days, except for those who grew up in the 90s, that like the full page of discussion on how the lodge was, formed and built, and how many generations of past masters were, all the past Grand Masters that were part of this lodge and this and that. I don't know many people who care about that when they're looking to join Freemasonry. I think they just want to learn how to join and what's the basic gist of what Freemasonry is. I think that's kind of it. And I think that when I see your website and it exemplifies some of the best websites out there that are lead generation websites. And
yeah. So I do want to stop you there. Like, we do very prominently like put like kind of those big 3 experiences up, but it's different strokes for different folks. And I mean, we do have dozens and dozens of pages that are less prominent, that when people get into it, and maybe they've already come to one of our socials, maybe they've already started talking to us, but they go back to the site to see what they can learn more. And we have had guys who say like, "Hey, you have a lot of information. Like, I don't feel like I have to ask that many questions because I get a general sense of who the lodge is and everything else."
Right,
so,
right. But that's not the first thing you see.
Oh yeah. Those are things like later down the road. Like, the things that you want to attract audiences for, you want to meet the audience where they're at, right? And if somebody who's not a member is coming to your site in your part of the state or city, they're likely searching, what is Freemasonry? What do Freemasons do? Masonic lodges near me, this kind of thing, how to become a Freemason, things like that. And so you really need, your main page needs to answer the question of how to become a Freemason, or at least start kind of having those overview snippets on there to then go to pages that talk in detail about that and have some sort of convertible activity to where somebody can, get to a petition if they want to, read through it, have a lead gen form that pops up and enters into a customer management system, so that way your lead management team can start talking with them and emailing back and forth and working with them on times they can visit and so forth. So that's what we do. But I do want to stress like that there is more so for some than others, but I think overall for visibility, it's good to have depth of content because for those who aren't aware, it looks very likely that Google got leaked in terms of what their search experience is built up off of. There was a API warehouse, which is basically a big document for technical endpoints that can be called by the Google search engine, as far as like what data they could be pulling back about a user to see how the page is performing that they're on, and if they need to refine the experience and ultimately change what they're showing certain audiences in search results. And
Right.
what is found is there's over 14,000 different endpoints that they're measuring.
Wow.
Right. A lot of these things, it's like 14,400 and some change. Everything I've seen of that looks like it's legitimately from Google. People at Google have said this looks like if this is a fake, it looks like somebody spent a lot of time on it and understood like our architecture. So it's likely real. And those, I mean, it's measuring everything about basically the vast majority of the internet at all times, right? Like it's measuring Chrome activity. I'm sure it's pulling like operation system activity from Android and Chromebooks. I don't know that for sure, but that's my speculation. I haven't gone through all 14,000 lines yet. But yeah, I mean, so they're looking like how long users are on your site and if they're taking a click action while there and things like that. So, you want to have also how frequently are you publishing? That's something that they're measuring, right? Like when was the last time new content was added, or when was the last time content that exists was updated? So these things are all important measurement, as well as another 13,900 whatever it is.
That's what Google uses to decide how high you're going to be on the food chain on the search engines, because they don't want a dud to show up and make them look like they're showing a bunch of crap every time somebody does a search. So
they're measuring like, hey, is somebody coming to your site for something, and are they having to bounce back to Google to go find it somewhere else? They can tell that with a high level of confidence based on all the user data that they've got and how long they're on site. So yeah, I mean, if there's anything that you think users may be looking for on your site, I would make sure A, you have it, and B, it's fairly easily identifiable as where to get it on your site. That's obviously a lot of work though, and easier said than done.
Yeah. I not only have the tab like the first 2 or 3 for how to become a Mason, but I also have it within my first page to where I have links going to that as well, so that people get that.
Yeah.
Man, we just got a crash course, man.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good stuff.
It's good for the consumers of Freemasonry, right? If people don't know, they're not going to be able to do this, because, while we are a vast group of men, it's the percentage of people who have that kind of information very, very small, and trying to educate the vast with just a few people is difficult, and that's why we have our show, and that's why we have people like you on, and I'm glad that you came on today.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like your presentation yesterday. Learned a whole lot of stuff I didn't know. Right? I didn't know it. So it's definitely, there's definitely value in having conversations like this.
You're gonna make me actually have to open up my Bible and fact check you on some of this stuff.
There are websites you can just do a search. You don't have to like open it up and go page by page.
What we heard yesterday was what I was hoping the Yorkite would have been when I first joined it.
Yes.
Talking about stuff like that.
That's exactly what it should be. And those are the things that we should be talking about in our lodges also, because the whole reason people go to the Yorkite is because they're not getting that information in the lodges. And if they did, then they wouldn't be seeking all these other sources of knowledge. In my opinion.
Well, yeah. So I think I'm just going to jump in here and spout my opinion, because that's what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's what I was fishing for.
Yeah, just digging in there.
Yeah, let me throw that softball again.
The Yorkite's like way off course, and I think it's part of the way that the jurisdictions are set up. I would really probably opt for at least the chapter and council to just be honorary degrees that a Blue Lodge can confer. The opening and closing is, I mean, first of all, the organization itself, I don't think is that historically like relevant, right? Like it's later versions of Freemasonry to try to like sum up some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so like having a special organization that's got very long-winded ritual for opening and closing it, and you got generations of guys that are just like this was true for Hillcrest when I joined. It's like they think opening and closing is the most important thing you can do, right? And like the governing of the meeting, it's like, no, the people are coming here for the degrees. Like, you need to be doing the degrees without, any aid. You need to be, doing that. And opening and closing, like, I don't really care. It's nice to maybe ceremonially go through every once in a while, but for York Rite in particular, chapter and council, I would be just as happy just gaveling that thing open and closed, or doing it with inside a master's lodge.
It's almost like the opening of the Eastern Star. It's so formal trying to go to each person in the line that it's just exhausting.
Well, and that's why the chapter and councils are failing, at least in part, right? I mean, the other part is like, the commander is sucking the life out of it by just zipping people through and saying, "Hey, come join the marching band of adults," which is very strange. But yeah, I mean, I do think some of the more esoteric and cool degrees are found inside the chapter and council specifically, but most chapters and councils just focus on opening and closing work, and then it's like they don't have the people dedicated to learning the ritual, because the commander just takes them all and says, "Oh, this is the important part," right? This is like kind of the top organization, and it just drains and exhausts the ability for those things to grow.
I think the really cool approach that someone could have would be because the problem with the commandery is that it even has a more exuberant and long, and it requires a ton of guys to properly open and close it. So like a lot of commandery, especially for commanderies that aren't doing too well, is just practicing opening and closing. That's all it is. And then they want to pass their inspection, and that's all it's about. And it's so depressing because the degrees, the commandery degrees, especially the Knights Templar one, could be like one of the best that you'll get in Freemasonry, at least the degrees you can get in Texas. But I've always thought that if a Blue Lodge doesn't have any York Rite associated with it, and there's no York Rite nearby, it would be cool to just have a chapter. And maybe it's not even a chapter that meets every month. Maybe it meets 4 or 5 times a year. I think for the Grand Chapter they require it to at least meet quarterly, kind of like a lodge. But it just be, spectacular as to what it should be, but there's no council and there's no commandery associated with it. That way you're not rushing to close the chapter to open the council, and then you're rushing to close that so you can open the commandery, and then you open the commandery and you're just practicing all night to be able to pass your inspection. And then it's why did we even show up to this?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. They need to drop down to largely directionally aligned with that. My hot take on that is they should allow, I like the chapter and the council to be together. I think that there's a good buddy system there. I don't think it has to be. I'd be in favor of supporting differences there, but I think it would be beneficial if they would allow the chapter and the council to meet biannually. And so that way, out of the 2 of them, you have quarterly meetings. So you're only opening and closing 4 times a year, and just do away with all this grading on opening and closing. Come in and grade a degree practice, not an actual degree. I hate the concept of graded degrees. That is complete crap for any organization to be doing that. But come in and graded practice, because that's what we did when I was over the chapter and council up here in Dallas. Was we had everybody learning parts. We refused to send people through festivals. If somebody wanted to join a festival through a festival, they had to go to another chapter council. They can come through ours. And so we did all our own degrees. We would only take up to 3 candidates at a time. We had a year-long backlog of candidates trying to join ours. It's kind of creating that sense of value and scarcity. And so the guys started wanting to join. And then so we were doing all our own degrees. We spent all of our time practicing that. And then we just basically phoned it in on opening and closing of any meeting that we had to do, including whenever the district teams would come and they're like, "Hey, we got to fail you." And I was like, "Yeah, don't care. If you can take the charter, take the charter." But we're also pulling in more membership, I think, than any other chapter and council at that point in time. So
if you were to theoretically just gavel open and shut and have an awesome degree, the the candidate won't think anything of you gaveling it shut, but they will have a positive experience of the degree. On the other hand, if you try to close,
you probably will have a negative experience of you closing the degree, because those things they're just not fun.
No, I agree. But I also agree that, and I said this before, there's too much to it. They tried to pack too many things into this York Rat system. I see the value in the Royal Arch, and I like the past master's degree, and I think that could be used more tactically. But as far as all these others, make them honorary. Like, what's the one you go to Grand Lodge, to Grand Chapter Council, and it's like an honorary degree you can pay for every few years. It's like
the past master.
No, it's not the past master. It's like I'm thinking Royal Chapter and Count, like
It's
Grand Chapter.
it's like the past master for the council, I think.
Isn't it like most excellent?
Right.
It's something. But they can make all these other degrees.
No. That's a different degree as well, too.
Super. You talking about the super excellent?
Super
master?
excellent. Yeah, it's something Bill and Ted.
Excellent.
No. I think the super excellent, if I remember correctly, that's an honorary degree that generally only makes rotation to come around like every 4 or 5 years or something like that.
Now here's something I'd like to say.
There's an annual degree that is put on at Grand Chapter and Council, and it is for the sitting heads of the chapter and council bodies, and you can only get that degree when you're sat in the chairs.
Well, I'm just saying they could offer that at the grand session, like one of these degrees we already have. Make them honorary and just rotate it out like every year and have a different one, and just keep the core. It's most York Rat bodies are small, and like you said, these are very long and prolonged degree systems. Just keep it to the basics. Let these guys learn these things, and then they can actually start conferring to these degrees. Because expecting a small chapter and council to be able to confer, I don't even know how many actual degrees it comes up with, like 7 degrees before you even get to commandery. That's quite a bit.
Well, so like what we did, you got to also kind of take it out of the step of like what a lot of blue lodges have been trying to do, which is like go, get these guys through, right? Because they're just sucking them off to Scottish Rite or Shrine or whatever else. That's where that mentality comes from. But like we didn't have that requirement that I recall in chapter and council, and so I mean we were fine with guys taking over a year to go through their degrees. We would only put on 1 degree at a time, and so if you came through the chapter and council, you would get past master's degree, then the mark master's degree the next month maybe, or maybe 6 weeks after that, or 8 weeks after that, and then after that it'd be the excellent, and then after that it'd be Royal Arch. So I mean that's almost half a year right there in just getting the chapter, and then you'd have the other 2 degrees out of the council. And so at the fastest it was going to take you half a year to get through chapter and council. And I can tell you, just coordinating multiple guys going through and how often everybody could get their schedules together to put on the degrees, like it took guys about a year to get through both those organizations, and it meant more for them because they were able to reflect on it, think about it, and just take it in context of like that one lesson that they were learning for that night.
Well, when you look at many of the countries around us, that's what they do. And like in the Scottish Rite, it's a minimum of a year to be in each degree. You got guys in some areas, you got guys that are in the 7th degree and they're 50 years old and they started when they were 20. That it's just and it means more to them, and they're always so surprised when they meet somebody younger than us that's 32nd degree as well as a Knights Templar in the York Rite, and we do it too fast. So there is value in what you're saying, and I would like to see the data on these other countries. I would like to see the retention data, because I have a feeling, I mean, call me silly, but I have a feeling that if they're taking their time doing this stuff and finding the meaning behind it as they go, they just might be more interested in sticking around for that next one because this one was so cool. I don't know. I mean, just that's one of the values I find in our Scottish Rite, and even what we're doing is quick. But every month we pick apart each degree, and so we're taking a deep dive every month, and we're all expected to read multiple books and whatnot, and have real discussions about the degrees each month. Whereas there's other parts in our fraternity that just aren't giving that kind of value. And while I don't go to the Valley CME class anymore, we're doing that in our club as well. And so our club is doing that down in South Texas, while the Valley's doing it as well up in San Antonio. So we're trying to spread that understanding that learning this stuff is more important than just jumping through it all in a day. And that we really need to step back and take a minute and see what we're really a part of and what we're supposed to be finding knowledge in. I'm glad you did that talk last night, because I hadn't thought about those things to that degree. I've thought about them in other ways. I've actually, compared the Fellowcraft to Kabbalah and all that, but didn't didn't even think about looking in the Bible when I was doing that. Maybe I should have, but but I think that there's lots of things to be learned from each degree, and that's why we can have different religions that are able to do this, and not just one, is because the lessons that are learned can be universally found in other books as well. But it just plain out tells us, look here if you want to understand this, look here if you want to understand that. And I really enjoyed the points that you had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a lot of value out of it. It was well worth it.
Awesome. Glad you guys enjoyed it. It's probably as much as I think I'm known for kind of focusing on the business of Freemasonry, and I think unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, that's kind of where my involvement is largely drawn. Like the deep esoterica of the craft was my initial interest, and still is my primary driver for what keeps me going. It's why I'm so passionate. It's why I am unabashedly I would say to some extent self-righteous when telling other people like, hey, you don't understand what you're doing when you're trying to change this thing here, because there's a lot of historical connections, like I alluded to last night. Like that presentation is just not long enough to talk about all the similarities on likely our origin story and what these things mean. And every time we're making these logistical changes of degrees for what will allow the most amount of people to do it the exact same way.
Yes.
Appreciate standardization to an extent, but when it's absolutism like that, without any understanding nor concern for the historical context of what they may or may not be changing, I have no problem telling people they're wrong, regardless of if they're, somebody's sitting in my lodge or chairman of the committee on work. So
I'm gonna tell you, I don't think that they are fully equipped to make those decisions based on the conversations I've had with some of them. I mean, I'm glad they can memorize a lot of work, but we need that, right?
Yeah.
Because not everybody's good at that. I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it can't be just those guys that are making those decisions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, just in the 18 years I've been a member, they've made what would appear to most small changes, but historically, with inside context of what these things likely meant, that we've inherited, it creates a complete disconnect. At worst, and at best, it just creates dissimilar experiences for guys depending on when they came through.
Yeah. But it's this fear of creating dissimilar experiences that kind of
That's
holds
the
us
driver.
back in some aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ironic.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Standardization, we create differences.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, was there anything
you
else
ready for?
you guys wanted to tackle with me tonight? Anything else that came up?
Give us a final thought. We're at that time.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the first time Dennis has ever called for a final thought. It's usually me. I'm usually tuckered out by now. But yeah, let's hear your final thought, pal.
Man. Okay. Well, I would just say like the for those who couldn't attend last night, the point of that lecture, which is the lost secrets of Freemasonry, is that I do very much believe that there is a historical context of what Freemasonry came out of, and ultimately what it all means in relation to each other. I think there's a lot of interesting conversations and a lot of interesting viewpoints when it comes to, what some of these things mean. And, you can go down different schools of thought and, different historical interpretations. And those largely only make sense with inside subsects of what we're doing and what we're talking about. And I would encourage everyone to continue looking and going on their journey with inside Freemasonry to find systems that historically could represent all, or at least the vast majority of our work with inside the primary Blue Lodge degrees in one system of thought historically, because it does exist.
I love it.
There are secrets in Freemasonry.
Love it. But you're not going to find it just digging around the lodge unless you connect dots.
Yeah. No, you gotta want it and you gotta earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not those surface value answers that you're going to get when you're learning the catechism from your instructor. When you ask them, "Hey, what's this?" Yeah, it's not going to be those surface level answers.
Yeah, it's similar to when I was taking karate in college. My sensei said, when you get to black belt, that's when you start learning. And it's similar with our work. It requires you to do all the due diligence and the memory work. And so for those who may have gone through a system, for those who may have gone through a jurisdiction where they didn't require it or they fast-tracked or whatever else, like, I don't think less of you, but you don't understand the system that you're in because you haven't even gotten to a point to be able to try to understand it, right? And so I would encourage you to go back and try to learn those things, find an instructor, because without knowing the first 3 degrees and the symbols and what you're told those things mean at that level, you won't be prepared to understand it at deeper levels.
Love it. Does anyone else have final thoughts?
Go ahead, JJ.
Yeah, I want to say I was having a conversation with somebody after your presentation, and their question was, when would you even start introducing these concepts to somebody? And I didn't have like a solid response, but I was like, first of all, you got to be sure you're letting the right people into your lodge. You have to be intentional about who you're letting in, because you let the wrong guy in, it's just gonna fly over their heads. Hell, you let the wrong guy in, the lectures are gonna go over their heads. So let alone this kind of concept. But I was like, it'd have to be a little bit at a time. Like I would say you didn't even like dump it all out on us yesterday, especially because I know it's condensed and everything. But and you showed the slide with the different expressions that we could expect it, and you could look around after and you're spot on, right? But what you want ideally is to kind of filter who comes in, so that when you know what to expect. How do I put this? You can see people that got it, and you can see people that are struggling with it, and you can see people that just totally dismissed it. You need to have a process at your lodge that is so refined that you know that these people that are never going to get it don't need to be in. These people that I can give this information and because these people are at this stage, and these people that I could give this information to, I know they're going to get it. Because if you just dump it all out at once, their brains are fried. They have no clue what you're talking about. You're wasting their time. They might not even show up. They might not come back.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry to add to your final thought on top of my final thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
But you're absolutely right. And I think to your point though, if you're building an esoteric lodge, I think there's other valid lodge forms that can take place in which you might not be worrying about that in your candidates. But yeah, that is something I look for particularly because I know that is a focus of the type of men that work best in our lodges is people who respect and have an interest in esoterica. So that's something I'm trying to feel out without like asking them verbatim, like, are you interested in these topics? But are you at least open to different ways of thinking and the history of how we got to thinking in the world that we have now and various histories that were kind of weeded out, stamped out and so forth. And yeah, I mean, you can't understand this stuff until you've gone through it all, right? Like, I mean, again, you're not going to be able to understand the higher levels of these symbols and their meanings until you've gone through the master's degree and lived it and all this kind of stuff. And so what I tell people, like after they've gotten into the EA, I'm like, okay, now you're going to like learn all this stuff, but it's kind of like a carrot on the stick. It's like, learn what you're learning here, but just know you're going to relearn everything later. And there's like double and triple meanings to a lot of this stuff. And so then they get real, if what they're doing with inside that work isn't necessarily, really energizing for them, they're not getting out of it like what they want to get out of it. It's not like deep enough or whatever else. Then they've still got that like, oh yeah, in the future I'm gonna interpret this differently than I do now.
And yeah, and I've hit it. I talked about this concept like with religious, but this definitely applies to Freemasonry. Is that there's an exoteric side which we're told specifically. Here's a symbol. This is what it means. And then you have an esoteric side, which is like what you're talking about. Like let's actually take this symbol. Where do we find it at? What context is it being used at? And how does that apply to what we're doing? But for most people, you're right. I mean, I'm not saying. I guess I should be clear. Like, if you want to do fundraising, I'm sure there's a place for you there. But for like an esoteric lodge, yeah, absolutely, you have to be able to identify the people that are going to say, "Look, I understand that this is the front-facing side of the fraternity. This is what we're overtly being told, but what does everything really mean, and how can I dive into that?"
Yep.
But those are my final thoughts. So I appreciate everybody coming, Kyle. You're always welcome here. I'm always glad to hear what you have to say about things, and I thoroughly enjoyed your talk. And Adam, thank you for putting that together yesterday. It was fantastic. Kadeem, it was great seeing you again. I don't see you enough, man. And otherwise, thank you everybody for everything you're doing and coming on. We got Dennis.
For my final thoughts, I'd like to say what we really need to do instead of that petition that we have today. It would be better if we had real HR executives like the ones we have in our rosters right now, like somebody like Bradley Kohenke, who knows this stuff in and out, that can develop a petition or like an aptitude test of sorts for personality traits.
Yeah.
Personality characteristics, I should say. And then we would know who's going to be more likely to obtain an understanding of what we're a part of, as well as who is more likely to be kind and enjoy the brotherly love and fellowship part of it, and the fraternal side, as well as there's different areas that all lodges, or not all lodges have, but all lodges collectively have together. There's different types of things, as you spoke on earlier, Kyle. I personally think there's 5, and we can, if we had a better idea of who the people are coming through the door, we would know who fits in our lodge. And we would know, if they're going to fit within that culture that that our brothers have within our lodge, the ones who are looking for that aha moment in intellectual and spiritual um um oh shit in their intellectual and spiritual growth, the people that are going to look like that brother did at the degree that we had at your lodge, Kyle. You know, when I mean, that is the look that I want. I want somebody who's just absolutely in awe of the moment. Yeah, yeah. And then we got to back that up, right? So if we're going to look for those things, we damn sure better offer those things.
Mm-hmm.
And while I know that we're not perfect at this time, we can take intelligent steps, like Kyle was talking about earlier. Have real strategy to do that. And in fact, that's why Justin and I have this show, and it's why we talk about these things so often, to help brothers in, you know, at various levels of where they are in their journey to maybe step up to the next level. You know, ultimately, we have to make ourselves available mentally and spiritually to receive whatever it is that's out there, right? Doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. We have to make ourselves available, and that's what our petition should be showing, is if people are mentally capable of being available for what we have to offer, because we have something special to offer. And Justin and I are definitely not special. So if there wasn't a lot of people out there, you know, just dumbfounded by what's going on in Masonry right now, we wouldn't have a show.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, the lodges have to step up their game, be intentional in what they do, and we have to travel and go to these events that have brothers like Kyle speaking and others, and Robert Park, like y'all spoke about earlier today, and you know, Justin and I even go around and talk a little bit. Jason does as well. I know that. We have to be available to be the apprentice as well as the master, right? We got to be ready to give that good direction when we can, and ready to receive that good direction when we can. Otherwise, why the hell are we doing this? Sure. If we're the smartest guy in the room, in every room we go in, we need to find a different building to go into, right? Because we really, it's not of value in my time sitting around, you know, patting myself on the back for being the smartest guy in the room. That's not a value of my time. If I feel like that's a value of my time, then I'm definitely not the smartest guy in the room. So, so anyways, wrapping this up, that's why we're here. That's why Masonic Improvement is around, because we believe that we should be trying to help each other to improve. And it's with brothers like yourselves that are part of this program, every one of you. I mean, if it wasn't for Adam putting together a program that we had last night, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to touch those 50 brothers that were there. You know, it's just not possible without the hard work and determination of some lodges that you know are serious about their masonry. And you know, Jason is the same way. I think that every brother that's in on this particular chat and everybody that was here, I think that we fall into that mold, but we do need more.
Yep.
And that's why we're here, for those people who feel like they're on an island. You know, that's why we're here, to help you find the direction to find these kind of guys. You know. So, anyways, I appreciate all of you. I think that if it wasn't for you guys in this fraternity, we wouldn't have the fraternity that we have that would keep me here. And so I think every one of y'all understand that it takes a lot of book time as well as travel time to be able to be the men that we are today, to be able to affect the worlds that we want to affect. So I appreciate you all, and keep it between the points.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on, man.